The cracked wall clock in the small Detroit apartment ticked loudly, filling the silence between a tired mother and her 12-year-old son. The single bulb above the dining table flickered, casting yellow light over the chipped plates stacked in the sink. "Eat it," Mrs. Brooks said sharply, setting down a plate in front of her youngest son. Her voice was edged with exhaustion. Malik stared at the food. The rice was hard and clumped, the stew thick and cold. He poked it with his spoon. "Mom, this was from yesterday." She turned, one hand on her hip. "And what's wrong with that? You think food grows on trees?" He looked down. "No, ma'am." "Then eat before it spoils. I work my back off all day just to keep lights on in this house, and all I get is complaints." Malik's throat tightened. He wasn't trying to complain. He just wanted to be seen, to be treated like he mattered. Upstairs, his older brother Tyrone was laughing loudly at his video game, his plate from the fresh pot still sitting empty in the sink. Malik hesitated, then whispered, "Why does Tyrone always get the new food?" His mother shot him a glare. "Because Tyrone helps me around here. He knows what hard work means. You sit around drawing cartoons while I'm out there hustling." Her words stung like slaps. Malik clenched his spoon, forcing himself not to cry. "I just like to draw," he said softly. "Well, drawing doesn't put food on the table." She sighed and turned away, muttering, "Lord, give me strength before I lose my mind." He chewed quietly, the rice cold and tasteless. Every bite felt like swallowing disappointment. When he finished, he placed the plate in the sink and whispered, "Thank you, Mom." She didn't answer. Later that night, the apartment was silent again except for the buzz of an old refrigerator. Malik lay on the couch, covered in a faded blanket. The faint glow from a streetlight slipped through the blinds, striping his face with shadows. He stared at the ceiling, eyes wet, and whispered to himself, "One day, I'll never eat leftovers again. One day, I'll make enough that Mom won't have to be angry all the time." The promise wasn't loud, but it carried fire. A small boy with an empty stomach had just made a vow that would one day change his life, and hers. The next afternoon, the apartment felt quieter than usual. Gray winter light pressed against the windows, and the radiator hissed like it was tired of trying. Malik spread his notebook on the wobbly kitchen table and sharpened his pencil until the tip was needle-thin. He drew slowly at first, then faster, lines racing into shapes that felt like escape. A high top with wave-textured panels, a low-cut runner with air vents shaped like commas, a heel tab that folded like a wing. He wrote the word resurge under each sketch, block letters filling the page like a promise. The door creaked. "Still wasting paper?" his mother asked, setting down a plastic bag of discounted groceries. She rolled her shoulders and winced, the day's weight stitched into her posture. "It's not a waste," Malik murmured, covering a page with his hand. "I'm practicing." "Practicing what?" "Getting hungry." She opened a cabinet, then closed it again. "You can practice helping me around here. Clean the tub. Take out trash. Go look for real work." "I'll do it," he said quickly. "But this could be a business one day." She gave a dry laugh. "A business? Look at me, Malik. Bills don't stop because you draw shoes." Her voice softened, almost apologetic and tired for a breath, then tightened again. "When you're done with your dreams, sweep the floor." He stared at the page a moment longer, then gathered his sketches and slipped them into his backpack. He swept the floor. He tied the trash. He said nothing. At school, the art room was a different universe. Paint-splattered tables, the smell of paper and graphite, late sunlight spilling over drying canvases. Mrs. Coleman, a woman with silver hoop earrings and warm, watchful eyes, paused behind Malik's desk. "Is that yours?" she asked, pointing to a sneaker with a split midsole that looked like a crack closing. "Yes, ma'am," he said, a little shy. "It's for people who start from pieces and end up whole." Mrs. Coleman smiled, almost proud. You design like you mean it. She flipped through the notebook. 4, 5, 6 pages. These aren't doodles. These are concepts. What's the brand name? He swallowed. Resurge. Spell it for me. Resurge. She nodded thoughtfully. Rise again. She looked at him. Who told you that you could draw like this? No one, he said. I just keep doing it. Then keep doing it louder. She reached into her desk, pulled out a flyer. There's a youth design showcase next month. Submit 3 sketches. I'll sponsor the entry fee. Malik blinked. For real, she said. Bring me your best. And bring the story behind them. People don't just buy shoes, they buy meaning. After school, 2 boys from his math class spotted the notebook in his hands. Yo, Picasso, one of them snickered. Draw me a Lamborghini. The other bumped his shoulder. Draw yourself a meal, bro. Malik hugged the notebook to his chest and kept walking. Their laughter followed a few steps, then faded. He exhaled slowly, opened the notebook in the quiet of the stairwell, and added a detail to his favorite sketch, a small stitch on the tongue, shaped like a lowercase r, a reminder to return to himself when the world tried to shake him. That night, back at the apartment, Mrs. Brooks fell asleep on the couch with the TV murmuring bad news. The radiator hissed. Streetlights painted thin gold bars across the kitchen tile. Malik set his notebook on the table and drew until his fingers cramped and his pencil wore down to a stub. Between lines, he whispered the way some people pray. Resurge, he said under his breath, testing the word. Rise again. He imagined a future where people laced up his designs before job interviews, first days, comeback seasons. Shoes that felt like second chances. From the couch, his mother stirred, eyes half open. Turn off that light, she mumbled. Malik clicked the switch. Darkness folded over the room. But the shapes he'd drawn felt bright inside him, bright enough to walk by. He slipped the notebook under his pillow, like a child hiding a treasure, and closed his eyes with a small, stubborn smile, the kind that belongs to someone who has already seen the life they're going to build, even if no one else believes it yet. Tomorrow, he whispered to the dark. I'll draw louder. Morning sunlight crawled across the faded wallpaper, highlighting the peeling edges and the family photo that had long since lost its frame. In the picture, Malik stood between his mother and Tyrone, his smile small and unsure. Tyrone's hand was on their mother's shoulder. Malik's hand hung in midair, never quite finding a place to rest. Most days began the same way. Tyrone's music blasted from the second floor while their mother hummed along in the kitchen, frying eggs that never made it to Malik's plate. He waited, pretending to tie his shoes a little longer, hoping she'd notice. Mom, do you need help with the dishes? He asked. No, baby. Tyrone already did them, she said, sliding the plate toward his brother. You'll be late for school. Malik nodded, grabbed his worn backpack, and walked out with nothing but a piece of toast that crumbled in his pocket. At school, Mrs. Coleman smiled as he handed in another drawing, this one of a broken sneaker glued back together with golden stitches. You've got something special, Malik, she said. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. He wanted to believe her. But at home, belief was the hardest thing to hold. That evening, he burst through the door holding an envelope. Mom, look, he said breathlessly. Inside was a certificate printed on thick paper. First place, citywide youth art competition. Mrs. Brooks was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. That's nice, sweetheart. Dinner's on the stove. He stood there, certificate trembling in his hand. You don't want to see it? I said it's nice, she replied without looking up. Now, wash those dishes before Tyrone gets home. He hates dirty sinks. Something broke quietly inside him. He folded the certificate and slid it into his backpack. That night, He sat at his desk in the small corner of his room. Tyrone's laughter echoed from upstairs, and his mother's television droned on. Malik opened his sketchbook and stared at the blank page. The ache in his chest felt like a hole big enough to fall through. He started drawing anyway. This time it wasn't shoes. It was a boy standing in front of a big city skyline, holding a pen like a torch. Over his head, he wrote a single word, resurge. When he finished, he whispered to the page, "You'll matter one day. Maybe not here, but somewhere." The refrigerator hummed, the clock ticked, and the house carried on without noticing. But in that tiny corner of the night, a forgotten child was quietly building the blueprint of his future. By the time Malik turned 16, childhood had become a blur of small disappointments and silent vows. He no longer waited for praise, only opportunity. That came one humid Friday afternoon when he spotted a faded, "Help Wanted" sign taped to the glass door of Kenny's Grocery, the small corner store 2 blocks from school. He stepped inside, the familiar scent of cleaning supplies and fried snacks wrapping around him. Behind the counter stood Mr. Kenny, a balding man with kind eyes and a voice roughened by years of shouting over refrigerators. "You got work papers, son?" he asked without looking up. "Yes, sir," Malik said quickly. "I can mop, bag, stock, anything." Mr. Kenny studied him for a moment, then nodded. "You start Saturday. $5 an hour. Don't be late." Malik walked home that evening with something close to pride fluttering in his chest. For once, he wasn't waiting on anyone. He was earning something himself. Saturday came, and so did the long hours. Malik mopped until his back ached, stacked boxes until his hands blistered, and learned to smile through fatigue. The work was honest, and the jingling of coins in his pocket felt like proof that he could stand on his own. When he got home, his mother was in her usual spot, folding laundry, eyes tired but alert. "Where you been all day?" she asked. "At work," he said. "Mr. Kenny hired me." She looked surprised, but her tone stayed sharp. "Hope you're not wasting time when you should be studying." "I'm saving," Malik said, grinning a little. "For college." She paused mid-fold. "College?" Her brow furrowed. "You think we can afford that?" "I'll get scholarships. I'll figure it out." She shook her head. "You're dreaming again, Malik. This world doesn't hand out miracles." He smiled faintly. "Then I'll make mine." She didn't reply. She just sighed, folded the last shirt, and turned up the TV volume until the conversation died. At night, Malik counted his wages in secret, placing each crumpled bill into an old cookie tin under his bed. He wrote "Resurge" on the lid with a black marker. To anyone else, it was a box of small earnings. To him, it was the foundation of something sacred. As the months passed, the tin grew heavier. He learned to budget, to dream practically. On slow days at the store, he'd draw new shoe concepts on receipt paper. When customers teased him, Mr. Kenny would chuckle and say, "Don't laugh too hard now. This boy's got ideas bigger than this store." One evening, as Malik was closing up, Mr. Kenny patted his shoulder. "You remind me of me when I was young," he said. "Except you look like you're running toward something instead of away from it." Malik smiled. "Maybe both." He stepped into the night air, the city humming around him. Neon lights blinked, cars whooshed by, and somewhere deep inside, the same whisper returned, the one that had started years ago beside a cold plate of rice. "One day," he said to himself, tightening his grip on his sketchbook, "you'll never have to prove your worth again." When the scholarship letter arrived, Malik read it 3 times to be sure. Partial scholarship, Atlanta School of Art and Design. He ran to the kitchen. "Mom, I got in." She didn't look up from her phone. "Good for you." He waited for a hug, a smile, anything. None came. The morning he left, his bag was small but his heart was full. "I'm going to make you proud someday," he said softly. She only muttered, Don't go forgetting where you came from. On the Greyhound to Atlanta, Malik stared out the window, whispering, I'll never forget. But I'm never coming back the same. Atlanta felt like a different world, buzzing streets, neon lights, opportunity everywhere. But success didn't come easy. Malik juggled 3 jobs, cleaning classrooms at dawn, driving Uber at night, and working weekends at a cafe. Sleep became a luxury. Meals were often noodles or vending machine snacks. Still, he kept sketching. He posted designs online. No one noticed, yet. One night, exhausted and hungry, he prayed, God, please, just one chance. That prayer was heard sooner than he expected. One afternoon, Professor Jameson, his design instructor, stopped by his desk. Malik, these sneaker sketches, are they yours? Yes, sir. These are powerful. Ever thought of turning them into a brand? Malik laughed. Sir, I can't even afford new shoes. Professor Jameson smiled. That's exactly why people will believe your story. He told Malik about the campus business startup contest. Pitch your idea. You could win $10,000. Malik's heart pounded. He stayed up all night refining designs, building slides, and practicing his pitch in front of the mirror. The auditorium buzzed with energy. Malik's palms were sweaty, his voice trembling at first. But as he spoke, his confidence grew. These shoes, he said, showing slides of research, represent people who rise from what's left behind, like me. He paused. When I was 12, I ate leftovers while my brother ate fresh meals. I promised myself I'd never live like that again. Resurge means we rise from the leftovers life gives us. The audience went silent, then erupted in applause. When they announced the winner, Malik froze. First place, Malik Brooks, Resurge sneakers. He had done it. That night, he called Mrs. Coleman. Ma'am, I did it. Her voice beamed through the phone. I knew you would, child. With the grant money, Malik opened an online store. He uploaded designs, ordered a few samples, and promoted them on social media. Weeks later, an influencer wore Resurge shoes in a viral video. Orders exploded overnight. He screamed with joy, running around his tiny apartment. God, it's happening. When the first batch sold out, he whispered, for every cold meal I ever ate, thank you. Success came fast. Reporters called. Investors wanted in. Friends he hadn't heard from since high school sent messages like, Bro, proud of you. Loan me $500. But Malik stayed grounded. He still remembered the taste of cold rice. One evening, he got a call from Tyrone. Hey man, Mom's been asking about you. Malik froze. Really? Yeah. She ain't doing too good. Lost her job. She's been sick. He sighed. The old pain rose again. Tell her I'll visit soon. He hung up, heart heavy. The past was calling, and he didn't know if he was ready to answer. When Malik drove back to Detroit, his Tesla turned heads on every corner. He parked in front of the old apartment building. Nothing had changed. Same cracks, same faded paint. He knocked. His mother opened the door, her eyes wide. Malik, she gasped. Yeah, Mom. It's me. Her voice broke. You look different. Success does that, he said quietly. Inside, the air smelled the same, like memories and struggle. She wiped her eyes. I didn't think you'd come. I almost didn't, he admitted. But Tyrone said you needed help. That night, they sat at the same kitchen table where years ago she'd made him eat leftovers. Her hands shook. I'm sorry, Malik. He looked up. For what? For everything. For the way I treated you. I was broke, angry, and scared. Tyrone reminded me of his father, strong. You reminded me of myself, too soft, too hopeful. She sniffed. I punished you for that. Malik's eyes glistened. I didn't need perfection, Mom. I just needed love. She reached across the table, gripping his hand. Can you forgive me? He nodded slowly. I already did. I just needed you to ask. The next evening, Malik cooked dinner himself. Hot rice, roasted chicken, sweet cornbread. Smells amazing, she said shyly. He smiled. No more leftovers. They ate in silence at first, then laughter filled the room, something long lost but deeply familiar. Tyrone joined them later, teasing, So, Mr. Millionaire, when's the shoe line hitting stores? Malik chuckled. Already in Atlanta, man. Their mother looked proud for the first time. My son did it. Those words healed more than years of silence ever could. Back in Atlanta, Malik wanted to give back. He founded a charity through his company, Fresh Start Meals, providing food for struggling families. At every outreach, he shared his story. I know what it feels like to eat cold leftovers and still believe in tomorrow, he said to crowds. This is for every child who thinks they're not enough. Soon, local media picked up his story. Malik became a symbol of resilience and hope. During one charity event, Malik met Aaliyah Jones, a journalist with soft brown eyes and a bright smile. I'm covering your story, she said. He smiled. Then you'll need dinner. My interviews come with cornbread. They laughed. Conversations turned into friendship into something deeper. One evening, she said softly, you turned pain into purpose. That's rare. Malik smiled. Maybe pain's just purpose in disguise. Years later, they married in Atlanta. His mother, dressed elegantly, walked him down the aisle. I never thought I'd see this day, she whispered. He smiled. Me neither. As Aaliyah walked toward him, the crowd rose. When they exchanged vows, Malik said, You loved me for who I am, not what I own. The audience cheered. His mother wept quietly in the front row. Malik's new home overlooked the Atlanta skyline. He built a studio inside where young designers from underprivileged backgrounds could learn and create. On his desk sat a framed photo, a plate of cold rice. Whenever visitors asked, Why this photo? He answered, That's where I came from. The leftovers that built me. A TV network produced a feature, From Leftovers to Legacy, the Malik Brooks story. The host asked, Would you change anything about your past? Malik smiled thoughtfully. No, because the cold meals taught me warmth. The rejection taught me hunger for more. Everything painful turned out to be necessary. His mother sat beside him, eyes full of tears. He became everything I prayed for, but didn't know how to raise. At a national youth conference, Malik addressed thousands. Life may hand you scraps, he said passionately, but greatness is in what you cook with them. Don't let pain define you, let it refine you. When he stepped off stage, his mother hugged him tightly. You've made me proud, son. He smiled. You finally said it. Late one night, Malik stood on his mansion balcony watching city lights flicker. Aaliyah joined him, wrapping her arms around his waist. Thinking about the past again, she asked. He nodded. About that kitchen table, that plate, that promise. She smiled. And now? He looked out, peaceful. Now I understand. Pain didn't break me, it built me. In his heart, he whispered, Thank you, Mom. Thank you, struggle. Thank you, leftovers. And under the vast Atlanta sky, Malik Brooks, the boy who once cried over cold food, feasted on peace that was finally warm.